Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to start a new chapter. That is the third chapter. And today you are going to study about the rotation and revolution. Already in the previous classes, you have studied about the rotation and revolution. But in class 9th, you are going to see some deep things about the rotation and revolution, and you will come to know some more things. So let's start with the rotation. All of you know about the rotation. What is the rotation? The earth moves on its axis. So to complete one rotation on its axis, the earth takes how much time? 24 hours. So this all of you know. So the movement on the axis, the movement of earth on its axis is called rotation. Well, now we are going to see about the circle of illumination. Now, so directly all of you know about the circle of illumination, but I will going to show you once again. We are going to see the figure with the figure here. So here you can find, this is a one figure 3.2, and in this figure you can find the line. You can find here there is an imaginary line which separates day and night, and this imaginary line is called circle of illumination. So all of you must be knowing about it. Well, so this is just a revision. Well, now next is the period of rotation. Well, now before we start this, we just move ahead further. Now let me just give you just a little description about the rotation. Now, well, rotation and revolution. All of you know already about the rotation and the revolution. And the rotation and the revolution is a very important movement of the earth, because as the earth rotates on its axis, what happens? Day and night occurs, and as the earth also is inclined on its axis and it revolves around the sun, and because of this movement, what happens? We experience the season, change in the season, and as the earth completes one revolution around the sun, that is called revolution. Well, now you know earth also is a one heavenly body. Same like earth, there are many planets together with other planets. Earth actually is a family of the solar system. It is one of the planet. Already you have studied in the previous chapters. Now all these heavenly bodies, whether they are planets or stars or sun or the satellites, they all are hanging in the universe. But how they are hanging it there? So they all actually they are fixed by the each other gravitational force. Now if you see the earth actually with its other planets together, they revolve around the sun. So how they are held in the universe? By the gravitational force of the sun. Same way, earth has one satellite which we call moon. Now this moon also is held by the gravitational force of the earth. This is the way, this is how actually all the planets, satellites, and even the stars, they all actually are held due to the gravitational force of each other. Well, now let's move further, and we are going to see about the, first of all, the period of rotation. Now usually all of you know the earth completes its one rotation in 24 hours. But actually the earth actually it takes exact time that is taken by the earth to complete one rotation. It is, as you can see in your screen, 23 hours 56 minutes 4.09 second. So it is not exactly 24 hours. We just make it in approx as a 24 hours. So you can find the exact time which has been taken to complete one rotation by the earth is 23 hours 56 minutes 4.09 second. So about, you can see here, about 3 minutes and about 56 seconds. It is less than 24 hours. Now this exact time which is taken by the earth to complete one rotation is known as sidereal day. So this term is called sidereal day. It is an important term. You need to remember it because this question may ask, what do you mean by the sidereal day? The simple answer is the exact time that is taken by the earth, that is how much? 23 hours 56 minutes 4.09 second is called sidereal day. Now after this we are going to see about the effect of speed of rotation. Now the rotation of the earth has two types of effect. Because the earth just rotates with a great speed, and because of this speed actually there is the effect of speed of rotation. Another effect is the only effect of rotation. So we will going to see it separately, and first of all we are going to see about the effects of speed of rotation. So the first effect of the speed of rotation is Coriolis force. Coriolis force actually, it is caused by the speed of rotation. This effect, first of all, it was discovered by one French scientist whose name was Gustave Coriolis, and on his name this effect was named as Coriolis effect or Coriolis force. Now what happens in this Coriolis effect or Coriolis force? So let's see here. So actually what happens, as the earth rotates on its axis, all the moving bodies, whether it be wind or the ocean currents, they all deflect right hand side on their path in the northern hemisphere, while in the southern hemisphere they all are deflected left hand side. So this movement is called, this deflection is called Coriolis effect. Now let me just show you one figure, and by the help of this figure I will explain you how this Coriolis effect acts. So look here, this is the one figure. Now here actually this is earth and this is these are the different zones. So this is the zone of northeast trade winds, and in the southern hemisphere this shows the zone of southeast trades. Now usually all of you know both the winds, the northeast trade and the southeast trades, they actually move from the horse latitude towards doldrum. Doldrum is a low pressure belt on equator. You will come to know in the next chapters. Some of the next chapters you will study about it. Well, so here, look here, this is the first wind. This wind is northeast winds, northeast trade winds. Now usually if you see, they move straight to equator. This is the original direction. In the southern hemisphere also they move from south to north, that is towards equator. They are very straight. But as this earth is revolves from this direction to this direction, so let me just show you here. So it is, this is the direction. You can find the earth rotates in this direction. So what happens here? This wind, northeast trades, they deflect right hand side. And these winds, the trade winds, that's why they blow from northeast direction, and it is called northeast trades. So these winds actually are named after the direction from which they blow. So these winds are called, that's why, northeast trade, because they are deflected right hand side. Why it is? Because of the Coriolis effect. One more example, if you see here, this is another zone of temperate zone. This zone actually is known for the westerlies, and you will see the westerlies usually they blow from the temperate zone. Well, this is actually we also call it the horse latitude. So from horse latitude, this is a high pressure belt. From high pressure belt to the low pressure belt, this is here actually it is found temperate low pressure belt. So usually these winds blow straight from south to north. This is the original direction, very straight. But they deflect right hand side, and what happened? Because this deflection is too much, and these winds starts blowing from west to east, and that's why they are called westerlies. Now in the southern hemisphere, if you find, these are the trade winds. They move from south to north, that is from here horse latitude towards doldrum, towards equator. Now here in southern hemisphere, all the moving bodies, they are deflected left hand side. So look here, they deflect left hand side, and the direction becomes southeast. And so these trade winds are called, we call this trade wind as southeast trade winds. Same way, this is the zone of westerlies, and the westerlies in the southern hemisphere, if you find, it blows from north to south straight towards the pole. But because they are deflected left hand side, so from this direction, if you see, this is the from upward to downward, it is left hand side, and it becomes westerlies. The wind starts blowing from west to east. Now about the Coriolis effect, some more things let me explain you. The Coriolis effect on equator, it is nil. There is no effect of Coriolis force on equator. But as you move from equator towards the pole, this Coriolis effect keeps on increasing. And this is why you have seen one example here in the example of westerlies. Now usually what happens, you can see this deflection is shown like this. But what happened, these winds deflected so much that what happened, they starts blowing from west to east direction in the both hemisphere, in the temperate zone. And that's why these winds are called westerlies. You can see here, these are called westerlies. So why they blow from west to east? Because there is a too much deflection. And the same thing, this Coriolis effect, it becomes maximum on the poles. So this is about the Coriolis force. Then in the coming chapters, you will be studying more about the Coriolis force. So now let's see next thing. Now next thing is the speed. Another effect of speed of rotation is cyclones and anticyclones. Well, what happens to the cyclones and anticyclones? These cyclones and anticyclones are also deflected. Now how this cyclone and anticyclones, they are deflected? So if you find it, now usually what happens in the both hemisphere, usually if you see, mostly the cyclones are experienced in the tropical region. They are never experienced in the temperate region, very seldom. But usually it blows, it is experienced in the tropical region. Well, why? Because of the Coriolis force, this cyclones, they are not allowed to get in the temperate zone. Now another thing, let me just explain you, let me make it easier for you, and I will show you about the movement of the cyclone and anticyclone. So here is a one figure you can see here. Now usually what is a cyclone? Cyclone is an area of a low pressure surrounded by the high pressure. Now what happens here? In the northern hemisphere, this is northern hemisphere. In northern hemisphere, these cyclones, they move in anti-clockwise direction. Can you see here? This is anti-clockwise direction. This is the direction. So usually these cyclones, they move in anti-clockwise direction. Why it is? Because all the moving bodies, they are deflected right hand side. But again, if you see here in the southern hemisphere, this is southern hemisphere and this is cyclone, region of low pressure surrounded by the high pressure. Now here these cyclones, they move in clockwise direction. They move in clockwise direction. So why it is? Because all the moving bodies, they are deflected left hand side. Now let's see another example of anticyclone. So first diagram I will show you in the northern hemisphere. It is given here on your screen. Now first of all, let me explain you what is anticyclone. Anticyclones are just opposite of cyclone. You can find here it is a center of high pressure region surrounded by the low pressure. Now usually whenever the cyclone occurs, you can see a very strong, very strong winds, means storms we experience. It's very destructive. But anticyclone we never experience. Why? What is anticyclone? Anticyclone actually is usually it occurs in winter season. Now all of you know about the winter season. Sometime you can see continuously there is a foggy condition, and suddenly you see one morning there is no fog. The weather is very clear, sky is very clear sunshine. So what happens there? That is the time actually what happened during the night. It was anticyclone occurred. Means that region, what happened? A high pressure belt develops in some small area, and that was surrounded by the low pressure. So what happened? The wind, it starts moving from center to outside in all direction. So what happened? All the fog and all the clouds, they are taken by these winds, and what happened? This the atmosphere, the weather becomes very clear. There is no cloud, no fog, very sunshine, means very good condition, very good weather. So usually anticyclone, it makes the weather very fine, very good and very fine weather. Well, so you can see here, this is a anticyclone. This is a region of high pressure surrounded by the low pressure. Now here these anticyclones, what happened? You will see they are just opposite of cyclone. In cyclone, wind rushes from outside to inside from all the direction. That's why stormy condition forms. But here in the anticyclones, the wind starts blowing from center to outside in all the direction. So the weather becomes very fine and clear. Well, in the northern hemisphere, these cyclones, they move in clockwise direction. Which direction? This is a clockwise. You have seen the cyclones, they move anti-clockwise in the northern hemisphere, but anticyclones, they move clockwise. Why it is clockwise? Because all the moving bodies, they are deflected right hand side in the northern hemisphere. Now the same thing if you see in the southern hemisphere, it's just opposite of the northern hemisphere. Well, the same anticyclone, region of high pressure surrounded by the low pressure, but here these anticyclones, it moves in the anti-clockwise direction in the southern hemisphere. Well, now in the this figure actually I am showing you from the chapter number. This is the chapter number actually. The chapter is 13th chapter, atmospheric pressure. So in the coming chapters you are going to study about the cyclone and anticyclone in detail, because here I have to explain you that how this speed of rotation it affects the cyclone and anticyclone. That's why I need to show you this diagram just to explain you. So here you have I think understood, all of you. The first effect of the speed of rotation is Coriolis force, Coriolis effect or Coriolis force. Second is the cyclones and anticyclones are also deflected. Why? Because of the effects of speed of rotation. Third, all of you know that the earth is bulging at the equator and flatten at the poles. Why it is? Now let me show you. Now usually this occurs due to the centrifugal force. Why it is? Centrifugal force. What is centrifugal force? When we take water in a small glass and we stir it, you will see in the center the water it gets down. Now that in the center it is created a centrifugal force. All the pressure actually is created at the center, and that is same thing on earth also, because the earth as it rotates, what happens? There is a force is created on the both the poles, and so on the poles it gets slightly flattened. But these sides means equator means on the sides you will find it is slightly bulging. So this whole thing, the flatten at the pole and bulging at the equator, this thing occurs due to the effect of what thing? Speed of rotation. Now this force which is created, this force is called centrifugal force. So you have seen the three effects of the speed of rotation. So you have seen the first effect, the Coriolis effect, Coriolis force or Coriolis effect. Then the second one you have seen the cyclones and anticyclones which are also deflected. And the third we have seen about the bulging at the equator and flattening at the poles, and that is why because of the centrifugal force. So you have seen this thing. Now let's move further and let's see some more effects of the effects of rotation. Well, one common effect all of you know, because of the rotation day and night is caused. Well, another thing is the variation in temperature. Variation in temperature means you will find during the night temperature is low, but what happens during the day? Temperature increases. So this variation in temperature is also caused by the effect of rotation. Third is the apparent movement of the celestial bodies. Now what does it mean? If you see in the sky, you will find that sun rises from the east and it sets in the west. Same thing if you find all the moon and all the stars, it seems they are all rising from the east and setting in the west. During the day we can't see all these celestial bodies, but we can see them only during the night. And it seems that all these heavenly bodies, which are also called celestial bodies, they actually revolve around the earth, but it is not. Why it occurs? Why it appears? Now it appears that all these celestial bodies are moving. Why? Because actually earth is rotating on its axis, and as the earth rotates on its axis, so it seems that all these celestial bodies or heavenly bodies, they are moving around the earth. But all of you know this thing, that it is not truth. It is not true, right? So what is the correct thing? What is truth? The truth is This occurs due to the apparent movement of celestial bodies. So this apparent movement of celestial bodies, it occurs why? Because of the effects of rotation. Well, next point, already I have explained you about the centrifugal force. Then the fifth is the alternate rise and fall in the ocean waves. All of you have studied about, all of you know about the tides. What are the tides? You can find the high tide, the water level rises up, and during the night time sometimes what happens? The water level drops down. Now why it occurs? It occurs because of the rotation of the earth. All of you know it occurs due to the gravitational force of the moon, but it also depends upon the rotation of the earth and both the revolution of the moon around the earth. So this is also one part, effects of rotation. Rotation of the earth also plays a important role in causing the tides, and this we call it, here it is written here, alternate rise and fall in the ocean waves. Well, so this you have seen about the, we have seen here the effects of rotation. Now next we are going to see about the revolution. All of you know about the revolution. What is the revolution? The revolution is the motion of the earth along its elliptical orbit around the sun. In the simple language we can say the movement of the earth or the motion of the earth around the sun is called revolution. Now earth takes, it means earth completes one revolution in 365 days and 6 hours. 6 hours means 1/4 day. So this total duration that is taken by the earth to complete one revolution, this is 1 year actually. But you will find here on your screen, it is, you can see on your screen, there are 3 years are written here. The first is the calendar year, second is tropical year, and third is leap year. Now what is calendar year? Now to manage the days in the whole year, usually we just take 365 days. So in 1 year in calendar you can find 365 days. That's why this year of 365 days is called calendar year. But the exact time that is taken by the earth to complete one revolution, that is 365 and 1/4 days. This is called tropical year. Now what happens usually, 1/4 day of every 4 years is taken together and it is added in every 4th year. That's why every 4th year is having 366 days, and that year is called leap year. Well, so these are the 3 types of year: calendar year, tropical year, and leap year. Now let's move to the perihelion and aphelion. Right? Now look here, what is perihelion and what is aphelion? Now I will try to show you another better map in the book. Now look here, this this figure in the book, if you see, this is the sun, these are the 2 positions of the earth. So what happens? Peri, in the Greek, peri means near, helion means the sun. Same way, up, ap, up means away, far, and helion is the sun. So what happens when the earth comes very close to the sun, that is, you can see here at the distance of 147 million kilometer, and this position is called perihelion. We call it what? Perihelion. Now usually this perihelion takes place on 3rd January. So it is not the summer. If you see, usually, so it's not summer, it is a winter season. Winter where? Winter in the northern hemisphere. But if you see southern hemisphere, this time around they experience summer season. Well, So it is not connected to the summer and winters. They are not connected with the distance from the sun. Well, so this is the distance. According to the distance, when the earth is at the closest distance from the sun, that is about 147 million kilometer, this position is called perihelion. And when the earth gets to the maximum distance from the sun, that is 152 million kilometer, and this position is called aphelion. Perihelion occurs on 3rd January, while aphelion, it usually occurs on 4th July. So these are the two positions, and they are called perihelion and aphelion. Now next we are going to see about the speed of revolution. Now all of you know the earth actually, it moves with a great speed. So do you know about the speed? Look here. The speed of the earth is 1,07,000 kilometer per hour. Means in 1 hour, earth, it travels 1,07,000 kilometer, and if we convert per second, it will be 30 kilometer per second. So you can imagine the speed, that how great the speed is of the earth. In 1 second, the earth moves covers how much distance? It covers 30 kilometers. So this is about the speed of revolution. Now we are going to see about the inclination of the axis and its significance. Okay, now first of all, I will show you about some figure. Now this is one figure here. So you can see here one figure here. This is figure 3.5. Those who are having the book, you can open your book, and the page number, this is old book, so this is 42 page number, but in your book you just find out. So there is this figure. If you find, this earth actually is inclined on its axis, and this inclination actually on its axis is called the tiltation. This earth is tilted, and this tilt of the earth is called inclination of the axis. So what is this tilt? So earth actually, if you find, it is inclined about 66.5 degree. How much it is inclined? 66.5 degree. Now let me show you one more figure. Now here, if you see here one more figure 3.6, so you can see here this is a one imaginary plane, because earth actually, it is hanging in the universe. So there is one imaginary plane can be drawn, and with that imaginary plane you will see the earth is tilted. Now this imaginary plane is called plane of the ecliptic. So with this imaginary plane, the plane of ecliptic, earth is inclined by how much? 66.5 degree. But if you find from the perpendicular, that is 90 degree, how much it is tilted? So the difference is 23.5 degree. If you add both of the degrees, you will get 90 degree. Well, so here the question, if it asked, what is the inclination of the earth? So the inclination of the earth to its plane of ecliptic is 66.5 degree. Now this is the inclination. Now let me show you one more figure, and I will explain you that how so look here, this is another figure on your screen. This is a figure 3.7, and you can find here these are the different positions of earth, and you can find they are tilted. So what happened? Because the earth is inclined, so what happened in the different times of the year? What happened? The position of the earth that is the sun rays, if you see, it falls on the different part of the earth directly. Now look here, this is one position. In December, what happened? You can find the northern hemisphere is away from the sun, southern hemisphere is facing the sun. So this time around, the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Capricorn, while it is very slanting on Tropic of Cancer. This is why northern hemisphere experience winter, while the southern hemisphere experience summer. But the same position, same thing actually, everything will be reversed. When? During the June. In June, this is the position of the earth, and you can see here the northern pole, the northern hemisphere is inclined towards the sun. Sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer. But the southern hemisphere, it is away from the sun, and so it gets very slanting sun rays, and the season gets reversed. Northern hemisphere experience summer now, while the southern hemisphere, it experience winter. So you can find here, if the other positions also. Now in the March, if you see here, during the March what happens, because of the inclination also, but here the sun rays falls on the side of the earth, in both position, March and September. So the sun rays falls directly on equator, and this is the time actually, both the time on both these days, what happened, the sun rays just falls vertical on equator, and here the circle of illumination, it passes from poles to pole. So we'll see it again, but this diagram I want to show you that what happens because the earth is inclined. So these are the different positions of the earth when it revolves around the sun, and we are going to see some more effects. Well, so here one thing all of you have understood by the three diagrams, that the effects of the inclination of the axis is the alternation of season. We experience different season. Why? Because earth is inclined on its axis. Well, now let's move further, and we are going to see about the effect of revolution. Now as the earth revolves around the sun, the first thing we experience is changing altitude of the midday. What happens here? What does it mean? Changing altitude of the midday sun at different times of the year. If you just remember, notice during the summer season, it seems that sun rays are falling just overhead, and that's why what happened, temperature becomes very hot. If you see the sun there in the sky, and you will find the sun rays almost falling on your head. It's not vertical, but almost it seems that they are very vertical, falling on the ground surface. But what happened during the winter season? During the winter season, if you see, the sun actually has gone somewhat farther, means the sun rays is falling slanting, and that's why during the winter the temperature drops down, it becomes cold. Well, so this is already I shown you one thing about the earth is inclined, and as the earth is inclined and it also revolves around the sun, so what happens? There is an apparent movement of sun rays occurs between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Example, on 21st June, the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer. But every day, now after 21st June, as the earth revolves, So every day the sun rays again starts moving backward. And what happened after June? In 23rd September, on 23rd September again the sun rays starts falling vertical on equator. So here is a one figure. So here you can see here, this is the position when the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer, and this position is called summer solstice. This occurs on 21st June. Maybe you have studied in the previous classes, so it will be a recalling then, revision. Well, so what happens? But as the sun moves further, the earth moves further, and this comes 23rd September, sun rays again starts falling where? On equator, on the sides. Now again, as the earth moves further, another position is on 22nd December. Again you will see, because of the inclination of the earth. Now here in this position, the sun rays starts falling vertical on Tropic of Capricorn. This position is called winter solstice. Now again, as the earth moves further, this is 21st March, and again the sun rays falling vertical on equator, and this position is called spring equinox. And previously on 23rd September, this position is known as autumn equinox. So you have seen here, there is an apparent movement of the sun rays takes place between Tropic of Cancer up to Tropic of Capricorn, and again from Tropic of Capricorn again in the other half again comes to Tropic of Cancer. So between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn, the sun rays falls vertical twice a year. How many days? Twice a year, means 2 days in a whole year. So this is why this actually distance of the sun rays. Well, what is the altitude? Let me explain you. So when the sun rays enters in the atmosphere, so when the sun rays falls vertical, it travels less distance in the atmosphere. But what happened here on the Tropic of Capricorn? This is position 21st June. Okay, here the sun rays is falling slanting. So when they enters in the atmosphere, they have to travel larger distance. That's why they become weak. But why they are intense here on the Tropic of Cancer on 21st June? Because they are vertical. They are traveling very less distance in the atmosphere, and that's why they are very, very intense. So this is called the changing altitude of the midday sun at different times of the year. I hope all of you have understood about this thing, that how this changing altitude of the midday sun occurs at the different times of the year. Now the next effect is the varying length of day and night. Now if you see here, so next is the varying length of day and night, and let me explain you here. Let me show you one example with the one figure. I want to show you the varying length of day and night. So look here, this figure 3.10 here. Now this actually effect occurs during the summer solstice, but look here. Now here if you find this portion in the northern hemisphere, this position is 21st June. This position is called summer solstice. Now what happens here? Now the northern hemisphere is facing towards the sun. Now if you find here, this whole region inside the Arctic Circle, right, it experience 24 hours of day. The sun rays are falling very, very vertical, very slanting, but then also this whole region inside the Arctic Circle, the region around the North Pole, experience 24 hours of day. But the same thing if you find here on equator, the duration of the day is 12 hours. Duration of the day is how much? 12 hours. But what happens as you move further towards the pole, you will see. Now here on Tropic of Cancer, the duration of the day becomes 16 hours. It just keeps on increasing. On Arctic Circle, inside the Arctic Circle, 24 hours. So, in the northern hemisphere, which experience summer season here, you can find the day keeps on increasing. But in the southern hemisphere, what you will see? On equator, it is 12 hours. But as you move further towards the south, now here it becomes 8 hours on Tropic of Capricorn. Now, if you see the region inside the Antarctic Circle, the region around the South Pole, now this region experiences 24 hours of night. You can see here, this is circle of illumination. Now this is a direction here, the earth revolves like this. Even after the revolution, this whole region, it lies in the dark, and that's why it experiences 24 hours of night. So this is a very good diagram to show you how the length of day and the length of night increases and decreases. Okay, so this is another point, varying length of day and night. Now next is the seasonal changes and their effects on temperature. Already I explained you about the seasonal changes. I have shown you this diagram and I explained you that how this season gets changed. So look here, these are the 4 positions. Now this is the summer solstice. On 21st June, sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer. This whole position is called summer solstice. Northern hemisphere experience summer season, but the southern hemisphere experience winter season. Now this is another position. On 23rd September, sun rays falls vertical on equator. Now here what happened? The northern hemisphere experience autumn season, but southern hemisphere experience spring season, just opposite. Then again another position is 22nd December. This position is called winter solstice. Now you can find the sun rays falls vertical on Tropic of Capricorn here. So what happens? Northern hemisphere experience winter season, while the southern hemisphere it experience summer season. Now another position is on 21st March. In this position, if you see here, the sun rays again is falling on equator. So what happens? The northern hemisphere experience spring season, while the southern hemisphere experience autumn season. So this already I explained you, because of the inclination of the earth and revolution of the earth around the sun, the seasonal changes occurs and their effects on temperature. Temperature, all of you know, here already you have seen here, summer season, temperature rises. Winter season, what happened in the northern hemisphere? Temperature gets cold. Well, so the different position, temperature, there is a variation in temperature. Now, next I'm going to show you about the summer solstice. So, only now we are just have already come to the end of this chapter. Already I explained you about the summer solstice. You can find here summer solstice. What does the summer solstice means? Actually, the word solstice in Latin, it means sun standing still or reaching to the zenith point. Zenith point means on 21st June I told you the sun rays, it falls vertical where? On Tropic of Cancer here. One more diagram I will show you. With the diagram it will become clear. So look here, this is diagram, this diagram here. Sun rays on 21st June, it falls vertical on Tropic of Cancer. Now it can't go further. Now again what will happen? Now it will move back after 21st June. That is on 22nd June. Now this apparent movement will again start towards south now. Till 21st June it was moving northwards. But after 21st June again this will start moving towards south. So this is the zenith. On 21st June the sun rays is falling here. So it reached to the zenith point. This is called zenith point. I hope all of you have understood this. Now let's see here some of the special features of the summer solstice. What happens here? Already I explained you, so this will be a revision. Days are longer than the night. Then the daylight is in the Arctic region, that is inside Arctic Circle, that is beyond Arctic Circle in the northern, around the North Pole. That region experiences 24 hours of day. Then as you move towards the north, you will see the length of days keeps on increasing with the increasing latitude. Already I explained you this thing. But in the southern hemisphere, just opposite region inside the Arctic Circle, that is beyond Arctic region, that is the region inside the Arctic Circle means the region around the South Pole experience 24 hours of night. Now next we are going to see about the solstice, winter solstice. So let me just show you one figure about the winter solstice. So here is the one figure. You can see here this figure 3.11. Those who are having the book, you can open your book, you can see this, you can check this diagram. So here you will see here the inclination, because of the inclination of the earth, the northern hemisphere is away from the sun and southern hemisphere is facing the sun rays. Now here the sun rays are falling vertical on this Tropic of Capricorn, and this is why southern hemisphere experience summer season while northern hemisphere experience winter season. So it occurs on 22nd December. This position is called winter solstice, and very quickly we are going to see about some special features of winter solstice. And the first feature, length of day increases towards South Pole. Second, day is longer in southern hemisphere than night. 24 hours of daylight is experienced where? The region beyond Arctic Circle region, that is the region around the South Pole experience 24 hours of daylight. But the region around the North Pole, it experiences 24 hours of night. Now the last point is the equinox, and I will show you the diagram here. All of you see here this figure 3.12. It shows about the diagram that shows about the equinox. You can find here sun rays is falling vertical on equator. So what happens here? Circle of illumination, can you see here? It crosses where? From North Pole to South Pole. This is the time. What happened? The whole earth experience equal hours of day and equal hours of night. Means 12 hours of day and 12 hours of night is experienced by the whole earth. That's why this position is called equinox. This word equinox actually is derived from the Latin word equus. Equus means equal, nox means night. So equal nights means nights are equal in the both hemisphere. Okay. So like this chapter is over now, and all the best. So this is the chapter 3. Chapter 3 is over. And your homework is you have to find out the answer. Now this is the third chapter. So first of all, your homework is to find out the question and answer of the first chapter, first and second chapter. All of you find out the answers here. You can see here, these are the exercises are given. So just find out the answer in the book. Don't write in the copy. Because I will provide you the notes which contains all the answer. Correct answer you can get from there. But till now, you just find out the answer and try to find out the answer and tick it in the book. Right? So you have to do. Chapter 1 is over, chapter 3 is also over, and chapter 3 is also 1, 2 and 3, all the 3 chapters, slowly. Give some time and find out the answer of all these question and answer given in the exercises, and try to just find out in the book. Don't write in the fair copy till I tell you anything. Okay. Have a good day, all of you. All the best.